The Lord has directed me to talk to the church tonight about what happens when miracles work against you. That topic in itself raises all kinds of alarms in your head. When miracles work against you. Because we always train to think miracles work on our behalf. And miracles are supernatural activities by God to benefit His people. But there's a time when miracles work against you if you're not careful. So before we get to that, like I said, let's just read Luke chapter 10, the Gospel according to Luke chapter 10, verse 8. You can take from verse, let's go to verse number 4 first. Carry neither money bag, knapsack, nor sandals, and greet no one along the way or the road. But whatever house you enter, first say, peace to this house. And if a son of peace is there, your peace will rest upon that house. If a son of peace is not there, it will return to you. Because peace will not reside where the people of God is not. And remain in the same house, eating and drinking such things as they give, for the laborer is worthy of his wages. So to go to preach for God is working. Do not go from house to house. Don't try shooting by trial and error. Go where you're directed. Do not go from house to house. Without saying the name of the denomination, you already see where they went into error. So you can't say the name, but I can say the name. Jehovah's Witnesses go knocking from house to house, hoping that they will find someone willing to entertain them. What you just saw Jesus said. Don't go from house to house. Follow my principle. Wherever I lead you, go. Whatever city you enter, and they receive you, again he's telling them now, eat. So first, if you enter a house, and they receive you, eat. If you enter a city, and they receive you, eat. Such things that are set before you. And verse 9 is important. And heal the sick where? There. Where you are received. And say to them that the kingdom of God has come near to you. It's near to you. Verses 8 and 9 has the foundation we know in chapter 9, verse 48. And he said to them, whoever receives this little child in my name receives me. Whoever receives me receives him who sent me. It's important. That's the foundation of this whole text. Whoever receives you receives him. Whoever receives him receives the one who sent him, which is the Father. So he's saying, eat where you are received. More so, eat where he is received. Added to that, he said, heal where you are received. And also heal where he is received. I repeat to the church, he's never received with a but. He is received before he arrives. So what happens then is, there are times, and I'll show you how it works. You may sit in the congregation tonight, remember the experience of your salvation, and you hear someone preaching, and as the person is preaching, you begin to feel a sense of conviction that tonight you need to be different. But Jesus hasn't come in your heart yet though. So the kingdom is near you. It's not in you. So what happens is, there's a sign that he's being received by you. He's not in you yet. The conviction in your heart and your thinking makes you feel it. I need to make a change. That's a sign that he's being received. But he's not in you until he is sought by you. He said that the kingdom is near you. Now a church can have the kingdom near them, but not in them. Important to note as well is a church can feel the effects of the kingdom without having the kingdom in it. I've had that experience in many places. I went to preach and the people felt the presence of God, but when you leave, the kingdom does not come by association. It comes by confession and requisition. He said, ask and I'll give it to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. Jesus said, there's a certain way to deal with cities in which you're rejected. There's a particular way, and it's in the text. What he said? He said, if you're accepted in the city, what must you do? Heal the sick who's there. Eat, and if they accept you, heal the sick. Now, what this part of the text? Because I told you before, believers have what is called deductive reasoning. You have to be able to reason. Wisdom is really common sense. Apply. Reason it now. So if you're not received in a city, are you supposed to heal the sick? Okay, fine. Jesus did not send the disciples out with medical kits. I told you to get it in the body, so the body and the body already right here. He didn't say, boys, pack your backpacks with medicine and take it to the cities and just be humanitarian workers. What he told them, don't put anything in your bag. Don't carry any money. Go with your hands free. But heal. So how could I heal you without medicine? He sent them without medical supply. What he sent them was supernatural power to heal. Okay, let me finish now. The church has become humanitarian workers instead of miracle workers. We have too many humanitarian trips instead of trips of miracles. So people sit waiting for you to give them medicine and they have no encounter with the supernatural healing power of God. And that is a shame. Because what makes you a believer, these signs will follow them that believe. They will carry medicine. He didn't say that. So humanitarian workers who are in the church, we like go on trips and we call them mission trips to give people medicine. We go to the sick and we give them medicine and we are seen or we are loved and they are called good people because they do good things. But miracle workers are hated by religious people because they only do godly things. You could be as sinful as the devil himself and go with a church team and give medicine and they call you good because you did a good thing. But you can't be sinful as the devil himself and go without medicine and say be healed in Jesus' name and the person is healed. So the fruit of your action is tested when your hands are empty. And we flip the TV from channel to channel and see everybody begging for a handout and for your money to help the sick. No, if you have the power, you don't need money to help the sick. Silver and gold, he said, I don't have, but what I have I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ, get up. And don't just get up, but walk. People would use your medicine and reject your God. But if you carry God, they can't use him and reject him because he knows where the Son of Peace is. He will tell you where the Son of Peace is, and only if a Son of Peace is present, the person could be healed, because the healing is dependent on the nature of where you go. And we hit CNN and NBC and the Word Network and TBN as being ambassadors of the kingdom. You are an ambassador of a lie, because medicine is not what God sent you with. He sent you with the power to lay hands on the sick, and they shall, not they might, it not by chance, they will recover. They have no choice but to get better if you come packing miraculous powers. But why in the world would apostle talk to me like this? Because don't even think about coming to tell me about a mission trip with medicine in it. So if you had it in your mind, start purging now. Start throwing it off the train. Because we shall only go when I'm convinced that you are equipped to go with your hands empty, but come back with the kingdom full. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. You don't have to carry stuff. Because when you carry stuff, people don't see God, they see what you bring. And when you bring it, they give you the compliment, and God is not praised, but you just preach some nice little message somewhere, and they say, oh, that's a good godly man, he gave me stuff. Godly people don't give you stuff. They present the kingdom which is near. And when the kingdom is near, you make the choice of what you do with the kingdom. He knows who his sons are. So I have learned to not call people sinners any longer. I call them undiscovered saints. Because you don't know who is whom. But if you approach everybody as they're sinners, you think that they don't belong to him. Some people are just lost. And there's a difference, God said to me, between being lost and being wicked. Okay, since you want me to help you, I shall. There are some people, you for example, you want to go to let's say Chuck E. Cheese. You've never been there. You know where you want to go though. You try to get there and you lose your way. Do you not know where you want to go? What's your problem though? So many people you call sinners are just lost. They know where they want to go. They just don't know how to get there. Because they left home. Some of you get lost from your own house when you drive too far. I drove away from my home, and when everybody, the first time I came to the US and they went on a trip, I said, I'll go to the mall and I'll see what Livingston is like. I'll drive by myself. And I drove and the GPS cut off. I knew exactly where I wanted to go. I had left home. I didn't know how to get there. You left home, but you didn't know how to get there. So all you needed was a voice that spoke and gave you direction and said, this is how you get there. You take left, you take a right, you go this way, you go this way. And when I began to approach my house, I said, this looks familiar. That's what you call conviction. This looks familiar. This feels familiar. I begin to feel a sense as if I belong here. I belong here. I belong. That's not a sinner. A wicked person is absolutely different. A wicked person says, I know you, I know how to find you, but I don't want anything to do with you. Lost people always have a desire to be found. Now let me say that to you one more time. Lost people always have a desire to be found, because being lost is never a position of comfort. That's why they misbehave. Because they want to be found. But they cannot be found without being given directions. So when you encounter the person, he said, watch this carefully, don't miss what Jesus said. When you go to the house, if there's a son of peace there, eat, heal him. It means the son of peace could be sick. But he didn't encounter the kingdom yet. He's still a son of peace. He's just a son of peace in inconvenience, waiting for the kingdom to come. Waiting for the kingdom to come. Waiting for the kingdom to come. And we are trying to measure our holiness by the standard of humanitarians and not power. Jesus promised every believer signs. He said, these signs shall follow them who believe. But the signs shall follow is not the English language we should speak. He's saying these signs will investigate those who believe. So when you show up in Africa and say, we are here as people of God and we believe in Jesus and we're here to help you, you could get away if you just give them stuff. But if you're a believer, when you make that confession, the signs start lining up beside you and say, okay, let's see if you're for real. And if the signs don't follow, you need to then turn away and get fixed. But I want to close right on this part when he said in verse 9, tell them the kingdom has come near you. Verse 10, but whatever city you enter, and they do not receive you, this is the part, what do? Go out where? Into the streets of that city and say what? The very dust of your city which clings to us, we wipe off against you. When you read that, you think it's the dust that turns up when you sweep in the house, because English is your enemy. Listen to what Jesus was telling them. When they reject you, tell them, because the word dust in Greek means to rouse or to cause something to arise. So he's saying then, when we enter the city, that's what happened to C.O.R.E Ministries International. Let me give you what happened to us then. When you come into the city, you begin to preach the message of the kingdom, you will cause things to arise. That's what you call issues and fighting, and people start getting mad. Because you could never enter a city with God in you and not cause an issue. Your arrival in your house tonight, if you're serious with God, will cause a problem. You can't ever walk in God's divine assignment and divine appointment and you show up in a city and you don't cause a problem. You're a problem maker. This boy just calling issues in the city. He's supposed to cause problems. Why? Because he came preaching the kingdom. That's the dust he's talking about. So look what Jesus tell him now. Jesus said, if they reject you, don't carry the issues out with you. Whatever you caused, you shake it off and tell them, deal with it. That explains why your apostle didn't go to the meetings. You ain't getting me to go to sit to discuss no issue with you because I didn't cause them. Talk to him who caused it because I came in the name of him. When I come in his name, I don't explain his issues. I shake it off and say, you deal with it. You deal with the problem because I continue to preach a message. I will have a problem if I change the message. Jesus is making them aware now that the moment you begin to preach, dust is stirred up in rejection. I don't want you to miss this. I don't want to miss this. When there's peace, there's healing, there's tranquility, and there's his presence. When there's rejection, there is always an issue. When, therefore, you go to speak to anybody and there's a problem in the conversation, it's a sign that you're dealing with somebody who got dust. They got issues and they cannot handle who's in you. I don't care what church they're from now. It's the principle. If the person rejects Christ, you will raise dust. And he didn't send you with a vacuum cleaner. You don't go cleaning any stuff up and trying to make peace because you already established, I come in peace. And if a son of peace is present, you will abide in peace. But if a son of peace is not present, the peace is returned to you in rejection, fighting, disturbance, problems, major crises. So he said, don't stay in the city and waste your time. Shake off the issues. Because if you don't shake the issue off, you're carrying suspicion to the other city. So you're going to somebody else who is a potential believer, but because of your hurt on this side, you're approaching them with caution, just in case they act like the last church. No, the last church rejected him. This one might accept him. Leave them with their issues, because once you stir the city up and you stir the dust off and you shake it off of you, it's all on them now. It's all on them now. Did I talk to you yet about what miracles work against you? No. So I'll talk to you about it now. Jesus then says, after he sends them out, listen, he start talking now because he's upset now. See, shake it off and tell him the same thing. The kingdom is still near you. All right, Melissa, look at this carefully now. Look at this carefully, evangelist. Come for me. Because you evangelists, we need to get this. Jesus is telling them, come up here. Even when the person rejects you, still tell them the kingdom has come near you. Why? Okay, good. I like you. You say you don't know. All the rest look deep. The kingdom is not here nor there. Remember Jesus said that? Where is the kingdom found? So if I am talking to him, where is the kingdom? So to the one who's rejecting him, he's saying, still tell them the kingdom is near you. Why? Because of who is talking to you. If they accept me in his name, they accept him. Why? Because I came with the kingdom in me. Only a carrier of the kingdom can make that statement. So look how close he is to the kingdom. But because of who he's seeing, he's saying, you can't talk to me. But don't look at who you see. Look at who has been sent. Who sent me? So the moment I come in the name of Christ, I'm carrying the kingdom. And I'm saying it's near you. But watch this. Because of your attitude, the kingdom will walk away from you. Leave you to deal with your issues when you just had an opportunity to have an encounter with the kingdom. The kingdom is God's rulership in the life of a believer. You have a chance for your dust to be settled if you accept me. But because of my history, you see, because you may have known that I came from a city where people just poor and they have nothing, you don't accept me because you're too wealthy to receive me. But you're rejecting the kingdom. Still tell him the kingdom was near you, but you miss. So you could sit because you miss. You missed. Verse 12, he said, but I say to you that it will be more tolerable in that day for Sodom than for that city in which the kingdom came near and they rejected it. Because the kingdom never came near to Sodom when miracles work against you. Let me show you the next city. Woe to you! He's now upset. He's talking straight now. Woe to you, Chorazin. Woe to you, Bethsaida. For the mighty works, if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more tolerable for them than it is for you. Capernaum, who are exalted to heaven, you shall be brought down to Hades, or nothingness, vacuum, space, emptiness. Why would Jesus be so upset with these cities? Why would he get so angry? Because there are some people who will receive your mighty works, but deny your mighty God after a while. He's saying for those people, when you were praying, you missed what was said. So let me tell you what was prayed for and what was said. And I didn't know what I was talking about tonight. C.O.R.E. Ministries International is one of the most threatened ministries, not by the devil, but by God. How could a preacher say this? I just showed you it. For the kinds of miracles you saw in here, for you to now make the mistake to reject him, it will be worse than for you than everybody else who rejected and never came. So you just walk yourself into a trap. So when you get mad with the preacher and you start planning to leave, don't forget the conditions under which you're going. Because there's a point in your life when you could be lifted high like Capernaum, exalted above everybody else. But rejection of Christ after the miracle begins to work against you now. Because there's some churches who started out with miraculous powers until they got smart. And they just figured out how God works. We can't be guilty of that in this ministry. Miracles work against you when you encounter them and deny the God who has wrought that miracle in your life. Miracles work against you when you encounter them and you deny the God who works in your life. He said it will be more tolerable for all these terrible cities than for those who encountered miracles. You know why? Because Hebrews explained it to you. It's impossible to restore somebody who had all these divine encounters and then look at it and walk away and say that's not of God. Now you go on your mission of restoration and see how successful you'll be after what I just told you. This then explains a little further why this pastor don't go chasing after people. Because I do my part by availing myself to the Lord for him to work and manifest his glory. That's my responsibility, to teach truth to the congregation. If the congregation or the onlookers see it, receive it, entertain it, accept it, and then because of a personal issue turn away from it, why am I chasing after you? Oh, but you'll say to me that Jesus said if a man has 99 sheep, 100 sheep, and one decides to go astray, he will go after that one and look up. Yes. Yes, he will. Because the one who is lost is not the one who has rejected. It's the one who went off course. The sheep didn't get upset. The sheep just dropped out of the flock because he may be gazing somewhere else. That I will go after. But sheep don't contend with shepherds. Goats do. So the moment there's contention after this instruction, I don't chase after you. Because my sheep know my So when the sheep is lost, the sheep isn't lost saying, I'm happy where I am. That's a no good shepherd. I don't want to see his face again. The sheep is bleating, making sound. Man, please, shepherd, find me. I need you. Don't let the woe, W-O-E, the woes of Capernaum and these mighty cities be upon C.O.R.E. Because we get too familiar with his presence or with his servant. Miracles will work against you. I could take it from another angle and you'll know that better. When the Red Sea was parted, it was a miracle. It worked for whom? But it worked against. Both were in the same place, but got different results because of the attitude towards him. So let's get it straight. Jesus has sent you with two results in mind. You will either be accepted or you shall be rejected. Neither changes your mode of operation. Go where you're sent. Leave the ones who reject you. Don't spend time with them. Don't eat from them. And do not heal them. How do we venture into Muslim nations with all this medicine, all this supply, all kinds of stuff, and then walk out saying we did a good deed? What good deed could you have done by entering a place where Christ is rejected? Forget about the Muslim. Then how do you go into a church and preach your lungs out? Talk your heart out. Go to somebody who's supposed to be saved and you just pour out what God said and all you're meeting is a wall of I don't think, I don't believe, I don't feel, and you just get burdened and sad. He never said to the disciples, leave the city sorrowful. Shake the dust off and tell him, deal with the issues I caused. Boy, that's major. That's power. You deal with the issues I cause, because I ain't dealing with them no more. If I keep preaching like this, some of you are going to be some lonely people. Long time. You'll be lonely. You will be in anguish. And you begin to feel some days that you're making a mistake. Because broad is the road that leads to destruction. And there are many who find their way on that road. But narrow is the way that leads to eternal life, and only few are on it. For many are called, but only a few are chosen. It means then that the ratio of rejection as opposed to that of reception is very different. There'll be more people who hate you than those who love you because of how you preach. Glory be to God. You feel my days are easy, don't you? You know listen, let me close with this, because I don't know if I told you before. I told you about the lady who said, wherever I am, she goes. Okay, think about that for a second. So think about me preaching to you tonight, knowing that this spirit is here. And I don't know who is in. You know how serious that is? When a demon tells you, wherever you go, I will be there. I watch you everywhere you go. Wherever you go, I am. But Satan had to have a body to work with. My son told me that because he understands the scripture. When he was cast out, he's a disembodied spirit. He has no body. God has two flesh people in front of him. Satan wants to affect the flesh people, but he can't come without a body. He goes to the serpent and said, I could use your body, please, because you're smart. And he comes in the form of a body and begins to speak. Because the serpent was a familiar creature, the woman was comfortable in his presence, not knowing who is talking in them. The lady said, wherever you are, I will be there. I am looking at the congregation and don't know where she is. Unless the Lord reveals it. You see why you need to pray for your pastor? And pray for yourself. That God, don't let this woman, the spirit, find me. Because the spirit that was present was one to test me. And she literally tried to hit my heart out of my chest. And when it didn't happen, she said, you for real. She told the congregation, he is who he said he is. What if I was not who I said I was? You can't play in I keep saying that to you Sunday after Sunday. This is not a church for game playing. If you want to play games, go somewhere else. But this is a permanent war zone. This is not a demilitarized zone. This is a war zone you are in. Why? Because truth is being preached without compromise. When you do that, the enemy has a mark on the church. And you come near me and think that your life will be happy-go-lucky. No. Pastor Jerry, you need to stop me. How I could be preaching things that make the church get smaller every week? Jesus understood the nature of warfare. The nature of warfare, the nature of the Navy SEAL is the more specialized you are, the less should be the number. Boy, that's major stuff right there. You need to pay about $5,000 for that right away, right off the top. The more specialized you are, the smaller should be the number. That's why Team 6 and Delta Force are small in number, but they're deadly when they go on the battlefield. You have the humongous numbers, but they are weak in terms of battle. Why? Because they are not specialized in anything in the kingdom. We are specialists. That's what I'm training. To detect spirits. Seek them out. Sniff them out. Where you are? You look familiar, but you smell different today. You look familiar, but I see your eyes now. I see the eyes. I see the eyes. I hear the voice. You have the capacity. I will release it on this congregation. You shall detect wicked people from far. And you know spirits. You will know spirits. You will know them from a distance. And don't be fooled by the familiar face. The woman said, wherever you are, I am. Your responsibility is to ensure that you're not the person. Sniff them out. Seek them out. You can't be talking holy yesterday and then today you suddenly got some strange language coming out of your mouth. I need to know that you're consistent. Because consistency is a sign of holiness. That's worth a tweet right there. Glory to God, son. Watch them. Look